Hey guys, so it's finally time for me to do the second episode of me ranking the MC Central Capture the Flag maps. Now, it's been a couple weeks since the first one. The biggest issue was that my OBS wasn't working for a couple weeks. Anytime I tried to save a recording, it would just crash and the recording would not save, so that was unfortunate. Um, Anyways, so I'm just gonna go back and use old footage, even though that is working now. It's just still easier to use old footage because I don't actually play Capture the Flag that much right now. Just also very busy, which is the other reason I haven't been uploading as much. But the point is, it's finally time for the second episode. And anyways, let's go. So today we are going on the second map, which is Asylum. And again, second being second to last is we're going last to first on this. So I mean, Sandy Fortress score a 53. And that's pretty terrible, and Asylum's really only slightly better, so let's dive right into it. First category is the balance of short games and long games. Now, this is really terrible on this map. It's even worse than Sandy Fortress, because on Sandy Fortress you play mostly long games. The vast majority are really long games. Now, Asylum, you barely play a game that lasts longer than the first rush. Normally, one of the teams will capture on first rush, say over 50% of the time, and if not, then it's second rush. Now, the map is pretty long, so these games can feel like they take a little while, but when it comes down to like the actual structure of the gameplay, you really only need one or two rushes to capture on this map. So this is getting a 3 out of 20. You get short games on here. There's hardly ever a long game. I cannot think of a single game that ended with 15 minutes on Asylum, or even close to that. So, the next category we're going to go into is the balance of melee combat and bow combat. And this actually gets a pretty good score on this, because, I mean, it's a lot of flat ground, and there are a few things to hide behind, so it does invite some pretty good combat for both swords and bows. There's places where you can hide in bow, and there's also places where you can fight with a sword. Both weapons are very viable on this map, so it's getting a 17 out of 20, which is a pretty good score. But we're going to move on to the juke points next, and here's the thing. There are a couple spots where you can pull off some nice jukes on this map, but the fact is, it's just the vast majority of the middle is just straight up open space. So, I mean, there's just so many places where you're just running, and there's kind of no hope if you're going up a defender who knows what they're doing. You can't really do that much. So this is getting a 3 out of 10, because, I mean, yeah, there are a few places where you can jump around, on the bushes and the trees and the stuff. You can go up into the mountains, which is dangerous, to say the least. But the point is that, really, there's nowhere good to juke on. And, you've got to, as soon as you do juke, you've got to run for 50 blocks before the next spot. So, I don't know, it's getting a 3 out of 10. I guess you could argue for a little higher, but I mean, I really think it just needs more places if it's going to get a higher score. Now, that being said, because of this really open space, the next category, team play, is huge, because you need someone to fight defenders off you if you can't get around them yourself. And so this is going to get a 9 out of 10. It's very oriented towards your team helping you when you have the flag. Now, it's possible that you just won't see any defenders, but, I mean, when it comes down to it, that's not skill, that's not team play, that's just luck. So when it comes to the actual play of the game, it's really important to have your team with you in case there's a defender. And so, yeah, it gets a 9 out of 10. It's a pretty solid score. Next score we're going to look at is the camping spots. Now, this is a pretty average score, because, I mean, this is kind of the same thing where there's just a huge amount of open space, so there's really nowhere to perch yourself and shoot with a bow or anything, because the mountains take you up way too high, or you can only see one half of the map or anything. There's no really universally good spots to watch out from. Now, that being said, this is one of the best maps for recovering, because you can just sit on top of the roof, right below where the flag is, and you can wait. And I mean, basically, you see the flag coming, whether it goes into the sides of the building or it comes straight up front. You are going to see the person with the flag, and that's huge. That makes it very much easier to recover. And so you can sit up there, you can bow, and it's difficult. If you're good with a bow, it is difficult for the person with the flag to get by, because you have the high ground, you're shooting downwards, and so it's hard to find things to hide behind. And that also kind of goes into why the team play score is huge, but it does give it a bit of a redeeming factor on the camping spot. So this is going to get a 5 out of 10. The next score is the smoothness of rushing. Now it's kind of interesting. If you're on a later update, then I'm actually not even sure what update made Soul Sand slower. But there at one point, Soul Sand became slower than it already was. Now it's always going to be a slowing block. Like even in 1.8, which I play on, it will slow you down, but it's not nearly as much as if you're playing on one of the more recent updates. So I know for a fact 1.15, 1.16. It is a slow block, and so if you're playing on one of these more recent versions, which actually a lot of the cappers play on later versions just for the sake of swimming, then it is going to be a little less convenient for you to rush on, but you can still do it. There are still paths where you can avoid all the soul sand, and if you play the map enough, you get to know them. But other than that, it is really smooth because of how flat it is. I mean, you've got an occasional one block, but you can line those up nicely. You'll never have to stop sprinting or trip or anything. And the one kind of issue is once you get into the base, going up those stairs, they do kind of require a specific jump pattern in order to go up them the most fast way. And it's basically, I think it's alternating every 3 stairs that you don't jump on, so you don't run into the slabs. I might be wrong about that number, but basically there's a pattern where you don't jump on a certain stair to keep your momentum going, so you don't trip on the slabs or anything. And just that takes a little bit of practice, but otherwise this is really smooth. It's fun. So it's going to get an 8 out of 10 on the smoothness of rushing. And so the next category is the balance of stealing and escaping with a flag. Now, I must admit, this is pretty good on this map because, I mean, once you're running through mid, it's pretty easy to get through there. Whether you have the flag or not, it's pretty easy to avoid people, especially if they're not targeting you when you have the flag. And otherwise, it's pretty easy to run to where your team is if you do have the flag, and they'll cover you and everything. So the only big difference is that the amount of time you have to spend in the base. It's pretty easy to camp the flag up there, which for some reason you really don't see people camping that often. I think just because the map is so slow, it makes it so that people get really bored when they're camping. So you really don't see that many campers up there, and there are 2 different directions you can come towards the flag from, which makes it a little bit better. So I'd say the stealing and the escaping are about even, but just because of the difficulty, theoretically, to get to the flag could be harder than capping it. It gets a 4 out of 5, so still pretty good score. Now, popularity, it mystifies me why people like this map. I know people do, and I play it really frequently, so it's getting a 4 out of 5 on popularity. It's just, I don't understand why people like it so much, if I'm being completely honest, but can't deny it, so it gets a 4 out of 5. It's played really frequently. So move on to the next score, which is the number of flag routes, and this is just a flat map with 2 different directions, basically. You're guaranteed, unless for some reason the flag bearer goes into the mountains, which is, again, super dangerous, just because, I mean, it takes a while to get up into those mountains and maneuver them and everything, and, I mean, even if you can get away from your opponent, the odds are the other team will cap in the meantime. But the point is just there's really almost no flag routes on here. It's just the same thing. So this is getting a 1 out of 5. And similarly with how necessary strong feet are, because of the lack of flag routes, so you really kind of need strong feet. You're either taking a really long time to go down the stairs, which can be of the flag routes that you need to take if you don't have strong feet. You can't just jump out onto the roof. You take a lot of fall damage, and then falling down again onto the ground, I think that would probably kill you. So you have 2 options. You can either turn and go down the stairs, or you can jump into the water there, which is right behind their spawn. It's kind of stupid to go down there. I mean, if they're not paying attention, then, I mean, I suppose it's good. But the odds are someone will see you, and then you're dead because you're stuck in water. So it's just not worth it. You need strong feet on this map. So it's going to get a 2 out of 5. So that's going to come out to a total of 56 out of 100, which is 3 points better than Sandy Fortress, but not great. So yeah, this is another map that I gave a pretty low score, and I really don't understand why people like this map so much. I mean, I understand it's really easy to cap on, but I don't think that's what makes a good map. So anyways, I hope you enjoy, and I will have the next map out really soon. I'm going to record it right after I make this one, and then I'll just have to gather the footage. So it should be out before too long. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think of this map in the comments, and whether you think I scored it fairly. And yeah, have a good day. Hope you enjoyed.